away one of the big win conditions for Kingzone.
Got a good stat for you, Deficio. Khan has played the most unique champions of any player at this tournament.
Ban them all!
And Kingzone have been saving counterpick for him so often. Most of those unique champions, by the way, have a theme, and the theme is melee DPS threats.
Well, one of them is off the table, gentlemen. Camille, first banned by RNG. Karma, Vladimir, the response from LCK's Kingzone Dragon X. And the final ban, Kai'Sa, towards Uzi.
So are we looking at Israel first pick for Uzi here? With Kai'Sa banned away, we know that Prey will grab it. He took it every single game yesterday. Uzi takes it here. We gotta remember, RNG selected blue side here. They have side selection for the first game, so they were clearly setting up for a first pick AD carry.
And this is interesting for RNG. We set up the defense style, try and wait for Uzi to scale up. Ezreal has very hard 1, 2, 3 item power spikes that can be played off of, so RNG don't have to wait too long.
Oh, let's see if Prey is taking a page out of Uzi's book from the semifinal against Fnatic, but it was the Caitlyn pick with teleport as well, being grabbed against an Ezreal, and that's the Irelia.
That is the Irelia that we have come to know and love. It is a flex pick, has been played in the mid lane over and over here into Taliyah. Taliyah is obviously banned, so that's not going to be the matchup.
I would like Malzahar to come in here for Xiaohu. It's actually one of the champions where you don't need to fully fear the all-in because you have your own suppression and a gank can happen and just take you down. Kingzone did ban it away yesterday when they grabbed Irelia, but they left it open in this one. Ornn is also smart though, because let me, it's his best champion.
It is indeed 7 games played already. This will be the 8th, and there's that Skarner again. Very high priority on that jungle champion throughout the weekend here in Paris.
And if you look at what RNG are putting together here, Skarner and Ornn work very well as far as early game engages. The ultimate slow basically guarantees that Skarner will be able to pick and choose a priority target for the ultimate.
And now on Kingzone's side, because they see that massive Ornn ult you just highlighted, Kobe, they want the Braum shield to try and block some of it. Not the Tahm Kench to try and prevent someone getting taken away by a Skarner on their side. So I feel they could have gone for both choices. They wanted the Braum. Yeah,
the Braum definitely very powerful. We've seen both walls used so far here at MSI, both Braum and Yasuo, who is still available. Because Trevor, you were getting excited about exciting picks we've seen emerge in the tournament. We just got to throw that one out there. A little more spice still available.
I also want to throw out Illaoi. He played it against this Ornn here when we had Kingzone versus EVOS in the group stages. You also get that Malzahar ban we just talked about, which could work against Irelia.
Yep, that is exactly why they keep saving the counter picks for Khan. Very diverse champion pool. And he looks to take advantage of that top side. Try and spread out the map so that they don't have to deal with the big engagement here from RNG.
Very last ban in phase 2 from RNG. They've taken Olaf off the table. Peanut needs to lock himself in a jungler still. Obviously, we mentioned already Kai'Sa and Peanut, the starting jungler. Zoe is now removed as a mid lane option. And we're going to find out some more information now which direction this Irelia is going to go once RNG lock in their solo lane.
This is a jungler we almost haven't seen all tournament long in Sejuani. She did receive a couple of nerfs. A lot of junglers were like, I don't want to touch her anymore. She was banned once in the semi-final, and now she's actually locked in for Peanut.
And funnily enough, we did see her as a support champion.
That's the one thing, yeah.
From Fnatic there in the group stages. Now, yes, she was nerfed, and the nerf was due to the mobility. The Arctic Assault was taken down a couple seconds, so a lot of players really felt that she exposes herself a lot more. Now, Peanut has been one of the guys that still played her after the nerfs, and he has been able to save the Arctic Assault until you need it for more disengage, use his positioning more aggressively without having to commit that cooldown.
Talking about disengage, this is Ming's first Janna of the tournament and only his 2nd of the year, and it's another tank, so all in on the Uzi damage threat.
So they're taking Sion mid lane here against what is most likely the Irelia on the other side, but that's actually not too bad for BDD to take that lane, so we get a carry top lane as well. Fiora and Irelia for BDD and Khan, and down the bot lane, Uzi's trying to be a carry on Israel first pick.
Kingzone Dragon X, not 1, but 2 carry versus tank matchups. Even if they switch them around, a lot of it will be very similar.
What I love is the entire setup of our pre-show, the entire preparation and build-up is how these teams are top favored for Kingzone and bottom favored for Royal Never Give Up. You cannot get a draft that better signifies that.
Yeah, not only first pick Ezreal, you get counter pick for support with the range coming in for Ming to try and win that bottom side really hard. But man, they're gonna be looking at these two soul laners from Kingzone.
The other thing I need to highlight, tanks are extremely effective early on in the game. They do not need to scale up with many items. So RNG have focused very clearly a lot more on the early game here as far as bringing everyone together, whereas Kingzone, they have the ability to scale up their damage dealers, split across the map, and play that style that we're used to seeing from them.
But I want to see if Peanut can actually do something early on, because he's on a Sejuani. It is a slow scaling jungler.
It definitely is a slow scaling jungler. Luckily for him, has really good synergy with melee champions and can stack up the stun. So there is tremendous kill pressure in the top quadrant of the map for Kingzone, and that is exactly what you want to see for them.
What I love is how MSI 2018 continues to deliver. Game 1 of the title fight, Fiora versus Ornn in the top lane, Irelia versus Sion in the mid lane, and it was RNG that opted into this blue side, red side option. Ladies and gentlemen, in Paris and around the world, let's kick off the fight for the championship and the title. And let's keep our eyes on exactly what sort of impact Peanut is going to have in this early game.
Yeah, let's look for that one, but let's also look at the summoner spells, where you have 3 teleports on RNG side, and then on the Kingzone side, we start with 3, it will become 4 because Gorilla can also grab one, and suddenly you have 7 players that can actually TP around the map, and we are gonna have so many of these cross maps where you think, ah, I got it, I can just take down this turret, and smack, 3-4 people show up, and a fight happens.
Always important to keep track of your opponents and try and keep track of those cooldowns. So we'll see if they're able to count on all 5 fingers for this one.
I can't believe how many teleports we've got. Back to the beginning of the year, gentlemen. Back to the TP meta. We've actually had a lot of shenanigans in the early game throughout the course of the tournament, so let's see if there's any delayed invades here.
A lot of people like to invade in around 1 minute, 5 seconds towards an enemy red buff. It's not happening in this game here. Kingzone will try and have Khan just sit alone up top, and they want to make sure Kaz is not early ganking him, because Fiora in the first few levels is not that strong. Ornn actually should be able to do more than fine against her, but if Peanut can protect Khan, then he will get to his late game point.
And Ornn over here, let me just helping out Karsa a little bit with the blue, gonna give him some more damage, as was Khan on Fiora there for Peanut. So both junglers are gonna route down towards the bottom half.
And of course, both Khan and BDD running Conqueror here will be very effective against some of these big tanks. BDD in the early laning phase with Irelia, typically you accept you get pushed in onto your turret.
Yeah, both of these guys are prolific Scion mid players and very used to the play style. What you want to do on Irelia, as you can see there, BDD making very good use of his mobility with the Blade Surge. You can reset it, remember, if you kill your target or if you mark them first with either your E or your ult.
And it is important to highlight that because you can dance around minion waves, Scion landing poke onto you is not that easy. So typically BDD can actually stay fairly healthy and just pick up farm.
And it's also important to highlight the exact position that she will go when she blade surges to a target. You will go through the target no matter what direction it is facing, and that's where you're going to have to adjust your skill shots to.
All right, while we can see the tanks doing fairly well in these opening levels as expected, let's quickly remind everybody of how RNG and Kingzone performed during the semi-finals. RNG taking on Fnatic was a very close series statistically, despite RNG being the stronger looking team with the 3-0.
Yeah, and it's really important to look at the stat in the middle, gold at 20 minutes, because RNG, they were down in every single game against Fnatic. That was, of course, part of their game plan, because they drafted a lot of scaling, so they accepted that Fnatic would come out swinging from the start. But the moment we got past 20 minutes, they showed better team fighting, and that was how they managed to win the series.
That's definitely what we're going to keep our eyes on in this game as well. Currently, as well, the bottom lane here, which has been very important in pushing early on to try and get tower damage. Uzi and Ming with the double range matchup have control right in front of the Kingzone turret.
As expected here with the counter pick from Ming. Meanwhile, also, if you are Kingzone, typically people look at this matchup and say Kingzone should be the stronger in the early to mid game. RNG then in the late game can start really team fighting. But with this draft here, Kingzone's scaling because of Fiora and Irelia is pretty damn insane. They don't actually have to necessarily get far ahead early on, as long as they don't suddenly concede a Baron and multiple turrets due to their lack of wave clear.
Nice activation there of all of the abilities, actually. First uses damage reduction, jumps back in for the reset here after his flawless duet, and BDD definitely showing that he is well-versed on Aurelia mid.
Well, definitely seeing his performance yesterday, I would have agreed with that already, Kobe. Can I have a little bit of potential backup here for Peanut? If you look at the minimap, Caster's nowhere nearby. He jumped in for a little bit of trade, maybe trying to set up a potential bait, block some of the damage, and Peanut just stepped into vision before he backs away.
We did see Peanut and the rest of Kingstone with all the wards on top side as well. Just play around the soul lane. As we mentioned this briefly before, make sure Khan and BDD does not get ganked early game and set behind. That is exactly what he's trying to do, which means, of course, Gorilla and Prey were left on their own.
Oh, a little bit of a hop forward there from Gorilla. Zuzi was tagged by the Q. He uses that arcane shift to safety. There's no follow-up yet. But I'm going to put some numbers to this pushing lane we've talked about. We measure forward percentage, the amount of time a champion or player spends forward in front of the halfway mark being the river. And Uzi has spent 41.9% of his time deep into enemy territory. You can see him doing again. Vice versa, Prey, 25%. The matchups have such a big impact on him.
Yeah, those stats back up what Deficio was talking about in the intro and the two kind of different styles that we have seen historically from these two guys. Prey and Gorilla have absorbed so much pressure in the LCK for this team, while Peanut could focus on Khan, while he could focus on BDD in invading the enemy jungle. Meanwhile, Uzi, he's always a focus for RNG.
Of course, and his attempt to always get ahead against the enemy to carry, but by bringing teleport yourself on a Caitlyn, you can match the TP typically coming in from Uzi. He is actually saving it for this one back hit because he had the push, he got to recall first. Meanwhile, BDD and Khan soon hitting level 6, and we accepted early on, they don't have to do much before they get their ultis, but once they enable them, we can start seeing more aggressive plays coming from Peanut around their lanes, because Kingstone, it is very much a split push setup, 1-3-1, with Irelia and Fiora in the two side lanes, where RNG, it's all about hard engaging as 5. Peanut, he's around, level 6 is here for BDD.
Okay, Caster's gonna need to come from the south, and Gorilla's nearby. There's nothing really follows up. Roar of the Slayer from Xiaohu, not even a summoner spell blown. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about potential objectives here. An Infernal Drake would benefit both teams, excessively important. And you can see the matchup, of course. Look at the CS difference between Uzi and Prey at 15 minutes.
This one here, he's only a few CS ahead, but of course we are pretty far away from 15 minutes. Can't really flame Uzi just yet for that one. It is a massive difference, however, on the early game impact.
Yeah, Uzi all year long has had huge CS differences, being able to get those last hits, and again, a lot of focus on his lane for multiple members.
Kingstone learned from their series against Flash Wolves, because Flash Wolves took the Skarner early in the draft. They walked bot lane 2 games in a row and flashed onto the enemy AD carry and shut him down. This Ward Heroes actually spotted Karsa, and the rest of Kingstone's dual lane can just sit back.
Yeah, meanwhile, since Karsa is on the bottom side, and even though he is level 6, Peanut and Kingstone have a lot of vision on the top side of the map, supporting Khan in this Fiora matchup. You know, the blue quadrant is warded, and the blue has just spawned as well. Maybe we'll see from some confrontation up there. Xiaohu, though, rotates down bottom first.
All right, let's see what sort of setup can happen. The tower's already down to 45% HP, and the vision gaps. I mean, Kingstone could have sniffed it out. Peanut and BDD gonna run into Xiaohu, who has access to his ultimate. I'm looking at the minimap. All right, no slows just yet. And 7 minutes in, small CS advantages for Royal Never Give Up, and no big plays yet. But Deficio, you touched on it. The moment those solo lanes hit 6, Peanut, Karsa had 6 as well. RNG were looking for a fight.
I mean, it's just fun to see the timer between two teams. RNG, they're like, we will take this bot lane turret eventually. Kingstone, you need to do something to stop us. You need to make a play happen on the other side of the map to at least trade turrets. Otherwise, it's going to be 1-for-0 turrets very soon.
Yeah, that's why Karsa's willing to use his Predator down on the bottom side, threatening with his level 6 there on the Skarner.
Oh, look at this.
All right, a grand challenge was issued. Khan's looking to run down Let Me, who still has his flash and a few vitals to proc. There we go, the challenge is answered. Let Me manages to use the Bellows Breath. Gets a small knockup, no summoner spells traded. Let Me still holding firm with a 15 CS advantage.
Yep, they're going to follow it up with an invade on the bottom side here. Karsa and Xiaohu will be able to steal away this blue.
keep control of this bot lane. They keep getting a bunch of deep wards into the jungle of Kingzone as well. Let me, he knows, to stay alive for as long as possible. Wait for Uzi to grab that turret in the bot lane, and then you have a very fed AD carry.
Meanwhile, on the top side for Kingzone,
Oh, they're coming.
Khan's trying to sustain up there with a Vamp Scepter first purchase, continually going for the Vital procs to try and stay healthy versus this Ornn, but Let Me has done such a good job on his most played champion here, getting his CS lead.
Yeah, and of course, he actually survived 1v3 dives against Fnatic just a couple of days earlier. All of the Forge Guard comes out, will not find a stun, but Xiaohu motors in. First blood picked up by RNG.
So we talked about how Kingzone were controlling topside, RNG were controlling bot lane, but the moment RNG decided to switch it up, they surprised Peanut, who was peeking his head into that jungle. Meanwhile, Uzi and Ming are still pushing.
So much of Peanut's invades had to be with pushing lanes, but the tanks converge in the river here to punish him.
Oh, look at the damage there onto the tower. Uzi, by the way, may be able to take the first tower, not done yet. Oh, the stun manages to connect from BDD, throws out the Vanguard, dashes through with the Blade Surge, flashes to safety. BDD manages to find a solo kill. Very good Howling Gale from Ming, interrupts Gorilla. Kingzone, they're on the board.
Oh, BDD did the same yesterday. He went for that all in. He has the shield. Ulti is ready, and he got level 9 for himself. Xiaohu did not even try to flash away from it, realizing this is going to be a kill for BDD.
Wasn't it the Sheen timing as well yesterday?
Exactly
the moment he picked it up, the moment he gets the solo kill, and BDD pulls ahead.
There's definitely some foreshadowing when he stacks up the Ionian Fervor to full stacks, then goes for the all-in. Right now, though, we'll take another look at Peanut's invade here, where he gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Oh, Peanut, your solo laners are pushed to their turrets. You can't walk into the enemy jungle, not expecting them to be there. He got punished, but I guess BDD got revenge.
All right, there you go. BDD uses his Blade Surge on a minion that kills it, so it gets the reset. He hit the stun, that gives you another reset. Ultimate gives you another reset. He dashes to the other side through the champion so that the shout does not hit him, just to make it that much better, and flashes out of turret aggro.
That leaves us with 1,000 gold advantage to RNG. CS numbers in their favor, first blood in their favor, and Casa's got Flash Impale available. No flash for BDD, remember? There we go, into the ultimate. Casa comboing with Let Me and Xiaohu. There is some support. Peanut comes in with the prison. A little bit of damage from the True Shot Barrage. I'm looking at the mini-map for support to come up. Roar of the Slayer and a little bit of Comet damage, but RNG unable to get more.
And the defensive play is as impressive as the offensive play from BDD. He's able to get his Defiant Dance up before Skarner ultimate hits him, and that channel cannot be interrupted. So even though he gets CC'd and pulled back in, huge amounts of reduced damage there. They're able to survive without burning anything big.
And 45% damage reduction for BDD. I don't think Casa should actually try and go for that flash all in. Use it instead around your carry, the Ezreal, because it is a full armor stacking Scion. He's not going to bring a lot of damage to the table, and that's now a big cooldown gone for RNG, and suddenly Peanut feeling a little bit frisky.
Yeah, Peanut going for the invade here. He's been seen over the ward, but as you said, the cooldown's not going to be here for RNG.
All right, looking at the damage coming out, finds the stun. Xiaohu in a sidestep for now before the bowler goes out. There's not a lot to tower dive with all of that armor that you've already mentioned.
Yeah, and we got to keep tracking how much damage BDD and Khan can deal to these big tanks, because it's going to be a lot of armor stacking against mainly just physical damage on the side of Kingzone. And luckily, there is going to be some true damage and a bit of magic damage coming in as well, like Irelia does offer some, but it is going to be a lot of armor on two big front lines.
Oh, okay. Khan's looking for another fight. Manages to trade back and forth into the minion line, I think helping out Let Me ever so slightly. Again, with that ultimate and the Volcanic Rupture, Let Me's doing well to sort of fend off the pressure, but it is still only a minor advantage for the LPL.
Yeah, and Let Me just knows, as long as he's staying fairly healthy, he can't get fully all in, he can always walk out from the trade, so he has picked up biscuits for himself just to get even more sustain. And we keep saying, you know, this clock here, his job is still just to survive. Uzi should get that turret to the bot lane.
Yeah, he also picked up the early Bramble Vest to try and cut down on that Vampiric Scepter sustain from Khan we talked about earlier, but we're gonna have to check back in here around the dragon, because Trevor, you talked about it earlier on. It's an Infernal Drake, and that is going to draw a lot more attention back down to this bottom side, where the bottom turret for Kingzone is extremely weak.
Yeah, so this should just be all RNG favored. Khan's TP is on cooldown. It was used earlier. Letmis is ready. He saved it. So you can go 5 members bot lane, get a turret, plus an Infernal Drake. This could be a huge moment for RNG just 1 minute from now.
Gentlemen, I thought RNG were the defensive way to late game team. They've got all this potential to get ahead early, and then I want to see what they do with it. Trinity Force, by the way, was picked up by BDD and Casa, sniffing all the objectives, as Official and Kobe have just talked about, maybe setting up for a play. Thank you for the vision toggle observers, as Ming is going to clear out this control board and set up the siege on this bottom outer turret.
Yeah, there's still more options for Let Me to try and teleport down to the bottom lane if they want to force this. Karsa is being patient here. Predator not activated yet, and they actually show themselves and move up with the minions.
All right, Tower not going to be threatened just yet. Uzi steps forward, but not going to get enough autos down. In actual fact, it will live for a little while longer.
We're so close here. Kingzone should not have any answer because Khan can't leave his top lane fast enough compared to Letme. Casa knows this, so he's just taking control of the river. But if Kingzone can outplay this one, it's a huge defensive move. Yeah,
you can see, actually, Ornn has stopped on your mini-map. It looks like they were scouting positions for possible teleports to use. Now he's continuing his route back up to topside, but this teetering turret is just about to collapse.
Look at the mini-map. Nearly everybody's making their way down for RNG. Letme's even backed away from the top turret, waiting to throw that teleport down. Just a slight breeze will knock this tower over, but RNG cannot get close enough.
No, they're not fully committing. They could have had multiple members with this minion wave and just give that tower a few hits, but they keep keeping the river control, and Uzi's actually going back now, so they're going to wait even longer. And this does buy a bit more time for Khan and his TP.
Yeah, his teleport coming up in a couple more minion waves. Uzi uses his now to the bottom side, out of vision of the rest of Kingzone, but Prey as well, sticking around.
Saw the number there. With the lead at 15 minutes, RNG currently undefeated. They've still got that 1,000 gold advantage. And even when behind, they do fairly well. Of course, Fnatic unable to close out games in the semi-final. Casa, Flash will be available very soon. 15 seconds before that is up. And a number of RNG pings.
Let's go,
on the map. Come on, Uzi just steps forward, finally takes the tower down. But is there enough control elsewhere on the map? Casa's now looking for BDD, manages to throw out that ultimate. And as he's dancing on the edge of safety, will still threaten and survive what could have been a 1v2 there.
Really smart Vanguard's edge there from BDD. Meanwhile, Uzi got his first turret in the bottom lane. Infernal Drake should be next, but meanwhile, Khan, he's going for the all-in.
All right, I've seen this before, gentlemen. It's not the most exciting of endings. So what else should we be looking at, Kobe?
Well, I like that you talk about seeing it before there, Trevor, because he goes for these big trades, then he tries to heal up off the minion waves. Those trades, though, are going to be more and more impactful. As Division was alluding to, the more items that this viewer starts to stack up, the more Letme is going to have to play defensively.
All right, there's Letme using a defensive Ornn ultimate. Even a true shot barrage to potentially help out as well. But the wave was cleared, Letme survives, and RNG initiate Dragon. There's no one nearby from Kingzone.
Yeah, even with seeing that ultimate used, it seems like they want to jump through this window because they have got the recall from BDD in the mid lane.
So we get everything we wanted. We wanted the bot lane turret for RNG. We wanted them to get Infernal Drake. Took a little longer than we expected. Meanwhile, top lane, Peanut, he can now tower dive.
Remember, there's no ultimate from Letme. He just used it. The volcanic rupture comes up as the first Drake is secured. Whoa! Here comes Xiaohu! I didn't see him coming in, but is it just another slam to the slaughter? Peanut is tanking up, takes a couple extra tower shots, manages to survive one last one. Kingzone get two, but will they get out? Casa's looking for an opportunity. There's no backup.
Yeah, Peanut waiting on the cooldown there for Arctic Assault. He should be able to get over the edge, but there's your fourth teleport to Vicio. Gorilla swaps it over with Spellbook and joins the bot. Oh, here we go in mid lane now. They might actually fend him off the turret.
Okay, so Kingzone, all 3 kills go to BDD. RNG get the 3 first objectives. Tower, First Blood, and First Dragon. And look how much damage they've done to that mid outer.
Yeah, it's so huge for Kingzone that RNG was so slow when it came to killing that bot lane turret and the Drake. Because they bought them more and more time to get levels and items and coordinate their own tower dive. Big thing.
You can just feel the tempo of this game accelerating. Take a look at this replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
So they know, bottom side, that's where all of the RNG members are currently sitting, except for Ledme and maybe Xiaohu. So when they set up the dive with the 4-man, there's nothing these two tanks can do to defend.
Yeah, and Xiaohu's ultimate arriving actually procs the riposte there, and they get the stun onto Ornn, finishing him off. 4 members, though, for Kingzone, pretty happy about that one, taking down the top turret. That being said, RNG are still the ones with the gold lead.
And they have the A to carry on 2 items, who's trying to steal a red buff, just failed. Now, though, Kingzone have gotten far enough into the game that they can start going into side lanes with Irelia as well. 3-0 on his side. The 2 tanks on RNG, Cyan and Ornn, they can't kill them 1v1. They have to just accept that they're going to get pushed down. So it's up to RNG to force the team fights as 5.
Devicio, I think there's a little bit of beauty in that. The LCK team playing the 1-3-1 comp, the LPL team playing the team fight comp. You go back years, 1,106 days since the Korean squad has been taken out.
I'm getting real tired of hearing that number.
I'm allowed 1 per 2 games, and that's my limitation. But it is interesting, and you can see Khan, he's already putting a lot of pressure on this bottom tower.
He definitely is. And you can see RNG, they want to use this big power discrepancy between the 2-item Ezreal, Muramana transformed here, versus Caitlyn's weakest point. There's no Infinity Edge completed for Prey. He's just trying to scrape together a little bit more money for RNG. Double buff Ezreal here, trying to utilize it.
And later, the answer against split push is often just go to Baron. Go 5-man at that Baron, the split pushers have to come to you, and then you can turn and team fight them. But that's just spawned now, and it still is very early to start it, so there is more time for Kingzone to keep controlling the side lane. Khan should at least get that bot lane tier 1.
Yeah, it's good you bring that up, because there are multiple very long-range tools. Yeah, well done, Deficio.
Thank you, my friend.
I don't have a very high expectation of your delivery, but you're definitely meeting it. The super long range engagements, as we saw, Cyan can head down the river. Letme would start off with the Ornn ultimate. As we talked about, that allows Karsa on the Skarner to choose his target so much easier.
A little nerve-wracking. As soon as we hit 20 minutes, we have this pause now. I will give you guys an update as soon as I know why. But let's talk about this map play. We just saw Khan shoving down that bottom, the swap already playing out. If Kingzone are able to run circles around RNG, I know Baron is one objective, but do they just throw themselves at a tower? Do they just initiate under an inner mid or inner top, force Kingzone's hands?
At some point, you have to.
Got it.
If you go too far into the game and you haven't been able to get a Baron and therefore a giant gold lead and taken most of the turrets, you will look at the side lane split pushes and feel like there's nothing you can do. The other answer is send 3-man to try and kill them, but there's 4 TPs on Kingzone. They can match that.
What do you prefer 40 minutes plus? The tanks on RNG side or the split push damage dealers on the other? I know we've discussed the strengths and weaknesses of each, but what do you prefer, Kobe?
The strengths and weaknesses are going to be in how the map is laid out. What is the battlefield? Who gets to choose the battlefield? Is it going to be the hard engage from the 5v5 team, or are Kingzone going to be able to slowly chip away at your turrets and up their gold lead to the 10,000 mark, where you can't even then have enough crowd control and damage to finish that one off? I prefer, actually, the 5v5 because it's much easier for me, and it's much easier to coordinate my teams usually.
Yeah, it is for our teams, but this is LCK and Kingzone. They can coordinate. Just an update, gentlemen. It is a PC-related problem on the side of Uzi, which our technical refs are looking into right now. We'll give you guys an update as I hear more.
It brings up this question, though, because if, Kingzone split up into their 1-3-1, we have the Fiora on top side, the Irelia on bottom side, we have Gorilla trying to protect Prey's Caitlyn in the mid lane and farm up and continue to scale. Is the Unbreakable from Braum going to be enough to deny that tower dive, deny that hard engage, to decide to force it and break the split?
Yeah, seeing as there will be a Predator Skarner, a Cyan ult, and the Ornn, it should not be enough. And that's one of the fascinating things about 1-3-1 comps, is how much it's just about a balance between all 3 lanes. If you see Ornn is missing and Cyan is missing from the side lanes, Kingzone will know, okay, they're coming mid. They will communicate, guys, back away from the mid lane. If they fail that, suddenly the tower dive will happen, and that's 2 to 3 kills for RNG, and then the split push stops immediately. So the amount of communication you need between lanes, it is so hard to execute, and only a team like Kingzone can actually pull it off.
It also begs the question, if the team with the Ornn, with the Skarner, with the Sion, hesitates after grouping mid, then you lose. You're constantly losing money out in the side lanes and constantly losing map pressure. And that's where you end up with the situations where they get run around the map and feel helpless.
And that concerns me a little bit because I feel like we have already seen RNG hesitate when it came to getting that bot lane turret and the Drake on the bottom side. They could have done that much faster. Kasa also ended up using that flash ult on Irelia in mid with the full tank sign. So they weren't like pushing it really quickly, which actually has bought more time to Kingston than I expected.
Got it. Just a quick update as well. Is a technical issue on the side of Prey, not Uzi, as I misspoke earlier. Let's dive a little deeper into the mindset, Deficio, because you said RNG hesitated. They were playing very safe, very risk-averse around that bottom tower. Do you think it was too risk-averse? Do you think it was nerves? Theory spitball for me. I know I'm asking you to project, but how would you interpret those few minutes of play?
There is a chance they're saying, hey, watch out for roam.
Like you don't want to throw either, right?
Yeah, you don't want to like go all in for it and then double TP behind you and you're like, oh, okay, now we just lost everything on the side. It could also be them saying, we got plenty of time, guys. Like, our late game, massive front line plus Uzi on a double tier Ezreal, we're good. We don't need to rush anything down. There could be multiple things going on with it. I just want to see if they can actually, the next 5-6 minutes, avoid losing too many side lane turrets.
Got it.
Because they have the group as 5 comp, and it's on them to initiate that. Kingston will split the map forever if they can.
Exactly. 20 minutes almost on the dot here. That's where the swing turns for these two compositions. Very excited for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
I am too. Unfortunately, we are not going to get to gameplay just yet. Gentlemen, I do apologize about the delay, but we're going to head to the analyst desk while we're resolving the matter on stage.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. A small technical issue on stage. While they sort that out, we get some time to talk about this game one here in our MSI final. 20 minutes in, as the caster said, it's almost a nice little midway point for us to start talking about things as they have broken down. Let's start with Champion Select here. We talked about Irelia at the top of the day. Is it an OP pick? Both of these teams are the only two teams to have pulled it out in their semifinal, and this time around, Kingzone seemed to get it.
And with the conversation, we were talking about some sort of counter to Irelia. Now, I'm not going to say that Sion is the counter to Irelia, but you can see what the thought process is behind this champion, taking into someone who does have kill pressure, but the real pick for me was the Janna. We've seen Irelia repeatedly get massive backline access, and when you have an Ezreal and a Janna, yes, Irelia is still going to be diving back, trying to pop Uzi, but it gets that much harder, and we'll see if Janna truly is the answer to Irelia.
And I think Sion Janna is a really fun thing to talk about because they were taking it at the same time. The big story there is Sion, endure the Irelia. Don't get killed like the Talia was a couple of days ago. Endure, whereas the Janna is double down on Uzi, pushing the turret. I saw the Janna and I thought, oh boy, 9-minute turret, 10-minute turret's going to be early. The fact that Kingzone could delay the turret take to 16 minutes for Trinity Force and other items to come through on Irelia and the top lane was really big for them.
Yeah, and I also think this is a cool draft because it simplifies the game. You have two tank solo laners to basically make your only lane of focus down bottom because the tank should be self-sufficient. And then the question becomes, how quickly can they get the turret? The answer was around 15 or 16 minutes, which isn't particularly fast, because I think from a simplification perspective on Kingzone's side, having the Fiora and Irelia, your two melee divers, that's all about how quickly can you get them to the point where they can kill the tanks in a side.
Isn't it nice when all of our prep comes to fruition?
Yeah.
To the way that the teams decide to play game one, you've got Kingzone focusing that top side of the map, utilizing the soul laners, whereas for RNG, it's all about that bottom side.
But my issue with the RNG draft, and why I actually wait towards Kingzone draft, is because if they don't have the damage threats. You know, if Ezreal ever messes up, if he goes down, yeah, you have the Janna to help amplify it, but usually when RNG run a composition like that, they still have something like a Vladimir, you know, some other late game insurance policy. Whereas on the side of Kingzone, if you take down the Caitlyn, you're still dealing with the possible Irelia and Fiora. If you get the Irelia, you still got the Fiora. So it's just so many different ways to attack it.
Let's take a look at how the chips fell within the game. There was some discussion around the junglers as both teams have sub options, but it's Karsa versus Peanut here in game one. Taking a look at these early jungle invades and the way that these two players are choosing to interact with each other.
Right, and I think the fact that RNG has lane priority early with the Sion shoving in the Ezreal Janna bottom makes it very easy for them to counter the blue buff. And then I feel like Peanut actually gets pretty greedy because he tries to take it back despite not actually having the map pressure. And this is a pretty easy collapse for RNG to make. This is what they want to have happen with their competition.
Irelia's only just getting to mid lane. Fiora's not interested in coming. That was definitely the wrong time. He thought it was a free trade, but certainly anything but.
And when I was talking about win conditions for RNG, I did talk about that river priority, the ability to rotate first. It happened on the top side, but I also want to touch on the Irelia solo kill. The reason why I think that was so important is because then ultimately Xiaohu could no longer walk into the bottom side river, because Irelia already showcased that she can kill that Scion, and then in tandem with Peanut's tower defense, with Irelia denying any sort of bot lane river access, suddenly Uzi and Ming are playing on the back foot, and it's delaying that tower fall, which delays the RNG snowball. And like Papa's saying, now there's a Trinity Force in the game.
Right, that's the thing we asked Scion not to do if RNG was going to come out on head. Of course, then we take that advantage to the top lane where Kingzone executes this dive, but we have some criticism for RNG perhaps.
You have to feel like the call for Let Me is stay in lane, I'm coming, and that call would have been coming from Xiaohu, but the timing of Peanut popping in really undid this for RNG.
Yeah, the double TP is what really turns it. You could argue that one TP, it still could have been a failed dive since it's Peanut tanking the turret the whole time and they had a bunch of time to kill him under the turret. That was definitely RNG overreaching, and I do think there are some nerves on both sides. We saw the misplay from Peanut with the invade where he really shouldn't have been there, and then opting into what looked like a 2v3 ended up being a 2v4 is not really a great choice under any circumstances, but in their heads they're thinking, I'm going to make the big play and keep us in the game.
7 teleports when we saw the spellbook switch over, and this is not the spellbook meta we had right at the start of the year, where you could just swap in the late game. Most of these people are committing to teleports, so it's a play-by-play caster's nightmare, because keeping track with those teleports is so hard.
But I also think it's an RNG nightmare. Yes, we did get a lot of experience exactly playing on that type of a map, but you just saw it right there. You know, Xiaohu making the call, not thinking about the teleports. And then likewise, if we say that Kingzone are, as Jat said the other day, a pressure-oriented team, playing with multiple teleports, playing with side lane access, versus RNG who want to group up, who want to use their hard C, force these team fights, I just think there are so many more weapons that Kingzone have on the map to split this up and dissect RNG.
All right, well, with that, both teams were given permission to talk during the pause. I'm being told that the issue seems to be approaching a resolved state, in which case we will be closely, or rather soon, going into game. So with that, quick shot, dive right back in.
Thank you very much. I intend to, with the help of Kobe and Deficio.
All right, approaching a resolved state, aka fixed.
Oh, that's definitely what I'm hoping for. BDD finds himself under some pressure as 4 members of RNG look to run him down. First kill of the finals to Uzi.
So just before the pause, we talked about some of the different answers to split push comms. One of them was, why don't you just send a bunch of members to the one lane and kill the split pusher? In this case here, there was no TPs to try and match it, and the guy died way too fast, so RNG picks up a very easy kill, and now they can look back towards mid lane and Baron area.
Sounds like some classic Korean advice. Why not just kill them, Deficio?
With multiple players, send your friends with you. It's a team game here in League of Legends.
All right, team game indeed. And RNG are looking to play as a team to fend off the 1-3-1. Khan manages to take a charge to the face from Let Me's, really using that Ravenous Hydra, pushing this wave as hard and as fast as possible. There's a tower trade scenario on the cards.
And this is kind of the force that we were talking about before, possible from RNG. So you see Kingzone, they cede the extra territory here. Turret does go down. That's number 2 for RNG. Only 1 outer left standing for Kingzone.
Interesting to note that Uzi went for fairly early QSS in this game here, obviously respecting the fact that it can be a long-range stun from Irelia or, of course, Sejuani landing onto him. And as long as he survives the initial engage, if we get a 5-on-5, Ming's ulti should be huge at knocking away all these different bruisers, and then Uzi can actually kill them, because they're gonna be fairly squishy, but they have a lot of upfront damage.
Yeah, one thing I definitely like doing as well when you're facing a Janna is killing the Janna first. And she is a very squishy target, whereas Ezreal, a lot of outs. Here we go, though, another look at BDD, using the minions here to gain some distance. He's got 4 members chasing him, though. As Deficio said, it's a team game.
It's a team game, and if BDD had looked at his minimap, he would have noticed that his mid lane wasn't there. They weren't pushing, so he couldn't actually stay in that side lane, and he did. That's why he got punished. RNG picks up what I consider a very free kill.
Oh, absolutely the case, and that allows Uzi to get to the 10K gold mark at 21.44. You can see how much quicker that is than the tournament average, and that's going to allow him to get closer to this fully stacked tier number 2 build. By the way, I think while we were in that replay, that bottom tower fell. Khan eventually got his target, and obviously now for RNG, it's a defense game. How long can they hold on to their remaining outer base turrets.
And will they be able to pick someone off again? Because it's a very interesting point. When people talk about a pressure-based game or a pressure-based comp, well, it's not going to have to wait long, actually. They sent a lot of people down bottom this time. But you have to always watch the rest of the map. Last time, there was nothing happening elsewhere for Kingzone. So yes, as Deficio said, the death was fairly free. But if you look at the map this time, while Khan is delaying them, Aurelia's at a turret. So Kingzone this time around, they have multiple points of pressure, and the balance is taking its toll.
Look at the team game, Kobe. Kingzone pushing top and middle, managing to get interrupted, face planting from Xiaohu. Call of the Forge Guard comes down, and the Bronze Shield interrupts it. First target's going to be Gorilla. Look at Prey, BDD and Peanut now running for their lives. Glacial Prison will slow it down. Royal never give up as Uzi Arcane shifts over the wall.
Oh, they want more, and they have to pass as well.
Oh, this
What
is
a moment.
very, very difficult to deal with. I do have some information that the players are reporting some problems. Obviously, we take those reports extremely seriously, and the QA team backstage are reviewing all of the footage, what the players can see, what the PCs are telling them. It's why we had that extended pause before. We're going to look into it once more.
Great run here from RNG. After taking the kill down bottom, they would just try and scrape Kingzone off of their turrets, pass through mid, able to get the extra kill here, and finish up on top side.
The amount of engage on their side allows them to get one kill and then rush together as 5 after. And because you have insane range with it, like an Ornal, that despite getting blocked, still slows the Braum down, allows them to catch up.
That allows them to go headfirst into the wall.
Hey, Xiao didn't need that ulti. He made that very clear from the start of it.
It's about sending a message,
Yes,
right?
that wall was in his way.
The rest of my team, they got this. I'm just going to make sure they step up their game. By the way, just an update for this specific pause. I believe it is Ming reporting something wrong with his client. They're busy investigating that. It should only be a few minutes, hopefully before we get back into game.
And it's a very, very big moment in the game for RNG because they killed the bot lane split pusher and Khan. They've already shut down Gorilla, looking like they're going to get more kills as they're already going around the wall here, about to attack the rest of Kingzone. If they can get maybe one more kill, that's an early Baron for RNG, and that's how you get all the outer turrets.
Exactly. We are 23.5 minutes into this game. Baron is a very viable objective. Then you have to start counting all those teleports, though. Khan, even though he's dead, and Gorilla, even though he's dead, both have theirs available. And BDD, currently alive, has a few seconds left on his. So Kingzone still might have some recourse if RNG decide to force it, but you still want to force anyway to draw out more of those cooldowns and then keep track of them.
Well, we actually have a replay of that passage of play, including the face plant where Xiaohu just forgot to turn left. But talk me through the rest of this.
Yeah, so we get the long range engage, and notice while Gorilla can block and not get knocked up, it still slows around him. So he will get caught by the rest of the team, and now they can just chase Kingzone. And nice action by Xiaohu to again apply another slow. Uzi's gonna come around the wall, and this is when the pulse is gonna hit. But at this point here, Kingzone should know they've messed up, and RNG should get more kills.
They should. Of course, Uzi's going to be waiting in the wings to try and cut off any stragglers. The question I have for you, gentlemen, is this an appropriate response from RNG because they lost a lot of tower HP in the top and mid towers? If this keeps happening again and again and again, you know, who's going to have a pressure break first?
Yeah, so we check back in on who's favored at the moment. I think that the seesaw here is tilted towards RNG at this moment because they have stayed ahead of the curve as far as the pressure that Kingzone have been able to apply. And we saw it here with the chase, getting them off of the turrets so quickly. You can tell by the gold lead here, they're very happy with the game state, rolling ahead, forcing these fights, all the tanks basically creating space for Uzi to just run wild on the Ezreal.
Yeah, 100% agree. Also the fact they killed both side laners, first Irelia, then they went down and killed Khan right after, and he actually used his flash, so he has to be a little bit more careful as well once he returns. It is really big for RNG. Poor Prey, he wants to just be a carry, but he's been relegated to defend his own turret. He's only on 2 items as Caitlyn. He can't really fight properly yet, so this is all RNG favored.
It is RNG favored. We're going to jump straight back into the game and into the action. The referees have determined that we will play on. And by the way, BDD dashed through everything, used that ultimate to escape. The pressure's not done yet because Casa is looking to jump in, looking for a stun with the help of that fracture. Now continues to chase forward. BDD getting a hammering Teleport's coming in. First victims fall on both sides as Prey drops immediately after. Khan completes a teleport only to find himself in the face of 4 RNG members. He falls thereafter. Peanut is the next target. RNG are tower diving and they get 4.
And the tanks reign supreme. Ming channels a full Gen ultimate there, healing them up, and they only drop 1. Now that Baron is on the table, they even got one of those extra teleports off of the score.
RNG played that so well. It all started with killing Khan in the bot lane, rush mid, catch out Kingzone, and then set up a beautiful tower dive. Can't even return and died again.
Unbelievable. The Baron is doing a lot of damage to the single TPS members of RNG, and Gorilla's face alone scares RNG away.
Gorilla chases them off of the Baron here. The other members have survived, or have revived, and teleports were ready for BDD and Prey to come as well. But let's go way back to the beginning here.
Yeah, this is the engage once again that slows down Gorilla and Prey. Suddenly they get caught here by RNG. All 5 members are screaming, go, go, go. We can catch them, we can kill them. Xiao who flashed in, I think it was his Randuin's Omen he flashed in and used to get another form of crowd control. And while BDD does buy a bit of time, Uzi and the rest of RNG can tower dive.
Yeah, BDD dashes in, then uses his flash over the large portion of the wall. But tanks full steam ahead. They're gonna go for the dive here. And look at the tower aggro. Never mind, let's look at the Dragon Pit.
Luckily, we got to see that fight on a broadcast. Prey has no flash available. Kingzone are trapped, and Uzi gets a double kill. 5-0-3. Got Archangels completed, and RNG just peeled back the Baron.
Yeah, now you can go for the Baron here. Kingzone, you cannot fight here. You're completely split on the map. Their 1-3-1 composition cannot stop the engagers. There's so many big tanks, and they want to keep fighting. BDD, time to be a hero.
Let's see what he can do. Got the ultimate available to him. No flash if he wants to get into the pit, and Peanut's coming in from behind. Blast Cone has already been dealt with.
Ming is trying to run interference here on the Janna, and now they turn on BDD.
Oh man, BDD gets a lot of dashes before yet another kill lands in Uzi's coffers.
Peanut is on the other side of the wall here. Should not have vision in the Baron pit. Ming will just try and hurricane him. They get the Baron here. It takes some time with the tanks, but they got it. RNG in full control.
Now they need to answer the split push. The Baron empowered recalls are going to get them back to base, and they burn Xiaohu's teleport to stop him in his tracks.
Another impressive engage. They win the fight. They start the Baron. Kingzone's 1-3-1. It's never allowed to just sit and split push. It's always fights in favor of RNG. Like, this is just all 5 members grouped again. Because you look at the side lanes, no one is putting pressure. They don't have to be afraid of it. Kingzone, overstep and get punished.
Oh yeah, dream scenario for RNG. They didn't have to deal with any of the side pressure. They were able to find the stragglers in the river. Easy ultimate there for Karsa, and they take him down.
And this should now mean a bunch of the outer turrets fall as well. RNG, once they have pushed Kingzone down towards their base, the split pushers can't do anything. They're forced to fight their way out. Okay, Dragon.
Yeah, Dragon making it clear that RNG have secured it. Of course, looking at the stats on your screen, RNG and Kingzone's kill-to-death ratio in 4v4 fights. Nearly 2 on the side of RNG, and they've already won several team fights. On the flip side, Kingzone, slightly lower, slightly less effective in that place, but with Baron, RNG, they've got themselves a tower already.
Look at the minimap. Prey split pushing at the moment on this Caitlyn here. He's not here to defend, but Kingzone have no wave clear. RNG are pushing straight for the inhib.
How deep are they going to go? We saw Evos make this mistake of pushing straight into the base and then getting flanked from all sides. RNG will not make the same mistake though. They go and just cut their losses right there, take the inhibitor, and retreat to defend.
Oh, they might be able to catch Prey. Look at Kase. He did not recall. He's running straight for him. Predator is not available, but he will get close enough.
All right, let's take a look. He's got that exoskeleton available to him. Impale's there as well. Prey, no flash available to him.
You better
He's
Prey
making
now!
it range. Casa steps into place, brings him back with the Impale. Despite the searing charge not finding the target, Prey gets run down. Kingzone are behind 7,000 gold. Down 8 kills, 2 dragons, a tower, and an inhibitor. And RNG are poised to take game 1 in this best of 5.
Yeah, we do not want to see RNG slow down now. They still got a minute on the Baron buff. They've killed the mid lane inhib. Get all these outer turrets, and if Kingzone try and defend, get ready to tower dive them. The lack of QSS on the side of Prey means that they can always flash in and grab him with Kasa.
They can be more and more reckless with their dives now too, because they are such rich men and they have so many tanks with hard CC that they can just tower dive and force it.
Let's see what Kingzone can do. Of course, Aurelia does exceptionally well into all of these shield users, and nearly every single champion on the side of RNG has a shield available to them. But will he get enough time? Prey takes a Mystic shot to the face and is chunked down. Inhibitor number 2 falls, and Kingzone, they're looking for a re-engage. Teleport is available for Letme if he wants to join the fight. He's not going to get it just yet.
We get it reset now. 2 inhib fallen. Peanut will not be able to stop any sort of recalls here. If you are Kingzone, either you go for the most crazy split push game of all time, or you have to try and win a 5 versus 5, down almost 10,000 gold against a team fight comp.
That's why people always caution against the lack of fallback patterns for a composition like this. It's very hard when you're down to remount a pressure game, to start pushing out the side lanes, because it's so much easier for RNG to catch you and stop any one of those lanes of pushing before you even get started.
And if we're looking at that potential big team fight that Kingzone needs, I have to look at Ming on the Janna. We mentioned it earlier, Kobe, you highlighted kill the Janna first. She can't protect. That is one strategy for them. But if Ming is very quick on his ulti, and he gets to knock Khan and BDD back out of the fight once the initial engage happens, then Kingzone should simply not have the damage to kill Uzi.
So much execution then on the side of Kingzone. They may not get an opportunity because RNG with Baron are still barreling down. Correction, Banner empowered minion. Baron buff has worn off. They've got supers in the top and the middle. And look at Uzi, he goes over the wall only to flash back out. All of the traps are already dealt with, and RNG are not giving Kingzone a chance. Vanguard's edge comes bound. There's a bit of disarmament, but simply not enough. A multi-man stun from BDD's bought some time, but nobody is even touched. RNG are destroying, dismantling, deconstructing Kingzone, and as Kingzone run for their lives, Uzi goes godlike, takes down the inhibitor turret, and turns his attention to the Nexus turret.
And RNG will be able to take first Nexus in this series!
RNG are destroying Kingzone's base. There is nothing left standing as Khan and Prey run for their lives. Some fan service to the LPL and to China, trying to pick up kills inside the fountain. Not gonna do it just yet. The Nexus will fall, and RNG are 1-0 up.
Perfect start for RNG. They select blue side. They first pick Ezreal for Uzi. He wins his bottom lane. Meanwhile, on the other side, Irelia, Fiora, Kingzone are looking at this draft saying, yes, BDD and Khan, they can carry. But the moment they walked into a side lane, 3 tanks started a fight, and RNG won every single one of them.
So important here for RNG to get this victory, saying we don't have to play your game. We don't have to opt into carry versus carry matchups. Tanks will do just fine.
I'm gonna call back to the pre-show.